Buongiorno and welcome back to I Am Casa. Today we're here in Plain-les-Ouates near Geneva at one of the two main manufacturers of Piaget. We're here at the building in which they have a lot of things. The creativity, the jewelry and gold sides, and a lot of the offices in which the whole brand gets managed and a lot of ideas come to life. Come with me to discover the Piaget manufacture in Plain-les-Ouates. The story of Piaget begins in the Neuchâtel region, specifically in La Côte-aux-Fées. But today Piaget has two different manufacturers. One is near Geneva in Plain-les-Ouates, and it's where I am today. And the second one is in La Côte-aux-Fées. The one we're at right now is more about gold craftsmanship, but also it has all the offices and HQ and the patrimony side. So it's a more company-related, history-related manufacturer, while La Côte-aux-Fées is so much about movements and this aspect of watchmaking, and it's fundamental to understand Piaget. You will see it afterwards in the video that it's a brand that has these two parts in the DNA, the design and craftsmanship aspect on one hand, which of course it's a favorite of mine, and the aspect of the movement which allowed the design to become popular. So it's a virtuous circle that creates Piaget as it is today. I'm gonna bring you in this visit to show you what happens from the patrimony, so the watch I brought here for you, to see where a lot of the ideas, the inspiration come from, and how it comes to life from a single gold bar. So here we are in the heart of the manufacturer. Here, cases, screws, and many other components in gold are produced internally. And what is special is that since we have the majority here being all gold parts, we have two main things. The first one being a recollection of the gold. More than 99% is recollected and melted into gold bar for a total of approximately 1 ton of gold per year. And the second thing is, of course, to manufacture parts in gold, you need the gold itself. And what are you expecting? Of course, you're expecting an ingot. But I was very surprised because this is the gold you actually use for this component. Here they do the usinage, and this is a 3.5 kilos of gold that looks like a simple bar. And I was really not expecting this, and I'm looking forward to see how they turn this into a case or into any other component. But it's a solid start. As you can see, everything is tidy up, it's clean, and I'm curious about how this thing right here turns into pieces. Piaget is an integrated manufacturer, so everything apart from the hairspring and the bracelets is created inside here or at La Côte-aux-Fées. And here we have an example of some components that can come from the gold bar I showed you. I was basically handed over 300,000 euros, which is really interesting because you never get to understand how this works, and it gives you an idea also of how this whole business is operated, because it's not easy to produce and to deal with gold internally as they do. And then we trespass a line in which everything changes from machines to humans. What is super important about Piaget is two main things. First off, it's an integrated manufacturer which takes in raw material and gets out a finished watch without two components that are both outside, which are the spiral, of course, and the bracelet, because again, it's another thing compared to movements and cases. The second main aspect, very important, is the fact that Piaget recycles a lot of the waste that comes from this gold. And when I say a lot, it means more than 99%. We're working in this facility with gold. Gold is precious, gold is valuable, and gold is reusable since the beginning of the ages, we can say. So it's very important that they recollect everything. It's an aspect that really interests me because it's a way of measuring how a company cares about this, but also it's a good way to tell the amount of attention to detail we have. It's very cool to pass this line between machines and humans. Of course, the machines are operated by humans, but as soon as you get inside the second workshop where only humans are around, you have way less noise and you have the magic happening. So, if you take this watch with a Trappist shape that inspired the nowadays 60 model, we can see a lot of different aspects. First of all, the shape, which is not round, but which is not very much embedded with the video of today. The dial, which we'll see in a few minutes, and the bracelet. The bracelet at Piaget is fundamental. It's something they're known for, and it's a type of craftsmanship very few people are still doing like this. First of all is a 10 pieces bracelet. It's a very cool aspect in my opinion. It's a very, very soft and silky bracelet, but at the same time, as you can see, it's very stiff, which is interesting, and it's always decorated, meaning you can have many bracelets that from the back look like this, but from the front they will all look different, and we can say they're all unique. What they're really famous for is the Palace Decor. So it's obtained by a very specific engraving tool which carves lions in a proper manner. I also tried to do with really, let's say, no special result, and it creates this pattern which is magical that can also be embellished by other patterns such as the animalier in this piece. And there is a whole workshop dedicated to all this kind of gold craftsmanship, meaning we have the Decor Palace, we have a special way of weaving, we can say, that brings gold threads into this beautiful bracelets. And not only, I've seen the creation of a sautoir that basically starts with a thin thread of gold which is turned, twisted, then composed to create a whole pattern, we can say, and a whole chain. And the chain making is something very specific that almost no longer exists in the industry. The school that taught it is done, it stopped 20 years ago, and Piaget still maintains this craftsmanship and also explains it to new generation to keep it alive because it's a huge part of the DNA. And what's fun is that the same elements you can see in a vintage and in a modern sautoir can be seen also in the bracelets, and sometimes, such as on this one, they are recalled on the rest of the case of the watch, which is very, very cool because it shows you that it's not just craftsmanship on one hand or design on the other hand, but it's the perfect mix between all that and among all that, including the movement side. In this specific manufacturer, we don't have many movements produced. We don't have, for example, the Altiplano concept production, but I'm sure I'll bring you around in the next time to discover this aspect of Piaget because it's something that really interests me a lot. But since we have my interest for stones and for creativity, the recent possibility to customize the Andy Warhol watch and the 60 being released, I thought it was a good idea to bring you around what is more into and around creativity, shapes, and gold itself. And it was such a good experience because I could finally see how everything is put into places. After that, we went to the polishing and to all this kind of elements and aspects, including the gem setting, which is outstanding. You can see, and it's possibly the only manufacturer doing this, but for sure one of the very few to actually put gem setting on a skeletonized movement, which is something breathtaking and very difficult because the movement tends to break very easily. And we've seen how they select the stones and how they adjust the stones in order to have a perfect setting on the watch. And this whole process is so easy for the people that are doing this because they're all passionate and they're all very down to explain, down to let you try, down to let you show you the stones, to show you what they're doing. And I got so many explanations from these people that I finally understood some parts of watchmaking I was still lacking, and I'm very grateful to these two Piaget. What's special is that in this atelier there's not only jewelry that is made, but we do also have a very big aspect around watchmaking, and what I'm about to show you is indeed something fantastic, we can say. So here you can recognize very well some pieces that we've seen before, such as the Palais des Corps, but what I was amazed by is the selection of the stones for some unique pieces of the Andy Whirl. And this is really something magical that I'm speechless about, because as you know, every stone is unique, every stone has different nuances and different colors in it, and that's a big link that connects watchmaking and jewelry. And after we've seen a lot of how a watch is made, we're finally in front of what we can absolutely call a museum, La Galerie du Patrimoine, with a special person that knows a lot about it. Jean-Bernard Foreau, Head of Patrimony, thank you for having us.
Welcome, Andrea. I'm very happy to welcome you at Piaget.
Likewise, we met already a few times around Watches and Wonders.
Definitively,
And
yes.
maybe also here once, I think.
In Stadt.
No, not in Stadt, but I think here at an event you did a few years ago.
Okay.
But, well, you're the man to tell us more about it. So what is La Galerie du Patrimoine and what is Patrimony here?
The Galerie du Patrimoine, so Piaget has decided, the family decided in 1990 to create a collection of pieces from their own stock of the family, but also other pieces that they have bought to private clients or on auctions, to create a collection that will be like a memory, a treasure, to tell the story of the inspiration, the story of the craft, the story of some of our clients also, to be able to tell not only the story of the pieces themselves, but the story of decades. And after a while, to keep a memory that will be useful today for us in-house, because it's very useful for the creative studio, very useful for our craftsmen, because sometimes they want to see how the pieces were made.
I'm curious then.
Okay, so just come with me. You will see that we name it a gallery because the idea is not to be completely like a museum, because the difference with a museum is when you go, for instance, to see a painting events, for instance, of Van Gogh or whatever. In fact, Van Gogh is no more existing.
Yeah.
While Piaget, we still exist.
True.
So there is always a connection between yesterday and today. That's why we prefer the concept of gallery.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
It. Yes, of course. It's really related to art.
Yes. So we will start from the left and come back from the right. And this movement, the 9P, is a true revolution for Piaget, but also for the Swiss watch industry. Because this is such a small movement, both in terms of size and in thickness. And so for Piaget, it has been the opening of a door on a wide creativity. And it's very important to have in mind that Piaget is a Swiss exception in the horlogery, in the watchmaking industry. Why? Because Piaget has really, and it's a family, they really see time not only as something to be measured, but also something to live. They will always say, and Monsieur Piaget will say, at Piaget, a watch is first and foremost a piece of jewelry for men and for women. And because they are mastering ultra-thin movement, first self-winding, and then after in 1996 we will discover
Wow.
the 12P, which is an automatic movement. So it's just a bit larger because we have had to integrate a micro rotor to have the energy, you know, for the watch. So this movement was also the world's thinnest automatic movement in 1960. And Piaget then has been able to create both, as you see on the left, an elegant watches, and on the right, something which is more flamboyant, more extravagant, already for men at that time.
Lovely.
And you see today we are gender fluid, so everything can be understood. But at that time, it was pretty daring to dare to propose gold crafted color with lapis lazuli and also diamonds for men. So that's why today we are talking about extravaganza, this mix of elegance and extravagance, because Piaget has always loved to blend both of them.
And they did quite a good job, I would say. Huh?
Yes, definitively.
I would wear all of them nowadays, even more the flamboyant ones to the simple and elegant
Yes.
ones. So here in the 60s,
Yeah, still in the 60s. And here, in fact, with this window, our idea, it was to show that Piaget loved gold. And the Maison had a foundry. We still melt
Yeah.
gold in-house here in that place. And you know that the headquarters is just over the manufacturer, so it shows how deeply intertwined we are. And it's a chance, because if you are designing or if you need something, an idea, you just have to go and you have the experts
Of course.
about the craft.
of course.
And here, in fact, you see that Piaget was able to engrave, was able to create chains, different kind of chains, with something that I want to underline is the fact that at Piaget, you never have a movement, a case, and then a bracelet, but it's
Okay.
slimless.
Okay.
The case is always integrated. Whatever the design, whatever the shape, it's always integrated. And it's a true signature of Piaget style.
Wow. And you have coral dial,
Yes,
which is
we
something
will-
I think you cannot no longer make,
Yeah.
but
So those ones,
I've never seen them.
yes, it's just to show the power of color. It's really
Yes.
appealing, you know, and even because the bracelets are black, then suddenly the color is really, I would say, addictive. Especially for me, I
The
feel
red is incredible.
The red is incredible, but also the blue with the lapis lazuli. So Piaget was the first maison in 1963 to come with a whole collection of more than 40 different ornamental stones.
Wow.
They were able to slide them. You could do on bespoke. It was named Style Selector.
Okay.
Yeah, you could choose. We still have advertising campaign of that time.
Back in the 70s.
Yes.
So already custom orders in the 70s.
Yes.
Wow.
Even before in the 60s,
Wow.
1963. And Piaget was so fond of those colors that sometimes they decided even to have no index on the dial. Because Monsieur Piaget used to say, at Piaget, we don't only measure time, we are admiring time. And probably I will tell you something, a secret from the archives, is that the first clientele so fond of those watches were Italians.
Oh, no way.
I guess it's also because, in fact, all the country is surrounded by a Riviera.
Yeah.
You have the sun. Gold is also linked to the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
And I guess that Piaget was really able to have an offer that was totally new for men. Because if you look about the watch industry of that time, we can observe that it was more gray or black or white dial, but
Yeah.
nobody dared to do that color. And what I think that is very daring from the family, it's to dare to do it. Okay, today we are in another world where everything is possible, but at that time, everything was financed by the family. So they were also strong
It's a
enough
risk, of
and
course.
self-confident to say, okay, next year, all the collection will be with colorful dial. It was such an amazing, risk in one way.
Do you still find them on the market? Because I've
Yes.
never seen them.
So what
I've seen the small
Yeah.
ones, but not these ones.
Today our gemology studio is still looking for rough block that we can slide after. The only thing that has evolved, it's the fact that today we are really more conscious about the planet,
Of course.
the social environment, and so, for instance, we have coral that we need to protect from the ocean, and some other stones, like for instance lapis lazuli, could be also an issue according to the markets that could be in the country, where you can have a war or issues. So we also have to say, okay, we are working in the world of beauty. What you have to wear has to be beautiful, but from all the different aspects, not only from what you see, but how it has been made, by whom it has been made, and how it has been made.
Of course. Thank you.
So another watch which is amazing, we are in 2025, we have just launched a new model named 60 that you have discovered in April at Watches and Wonders. This watch is amazing because it's proposing the trapeze shape. But the trapeze shape has a story at Piaget. It started first in 1969 in a collection named 21st Century. This is the Bing Bong of Piaget. This is the collection where most of the shape, all the stylistic grammar has been created and set up. And with this watch, you can feel this model has been designed for men. So what is amazing at Piaget is that there were no border between watchmaking and jewelry, but neither no border between masculine and feminine, which is amazing for a family that was born Swiss farmers in La Côte-aux-Fées.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you can feel here the contrast of color. It's coral and onyx in a more or less pop art approach, considering the color. It's also with a bracelet, which is amazing in terms of texture and flexibility, in gold for men, with an engraving around the case. And it showed that at that time, this trapeze shape design was already very trendy. And if we relaunch it today, it's also because we were interested to keep the energy of that model, just to reinterpret it. In the present time.
We're waiting for a dual time now.
Yeah, and here you have a sautoir. It's an amazing piece at Piaget. They are named swinging sautoirs because they are moving with you. Piaget relaunched the sautoir in 1969 with something which was very different from the sautoir of the 20s, is that the time is for women. That's why it's not for you. So you could have the feeling that the hands are not in the proper position, but it's because it's to create a new gesture.
For the owner.
Piaget has been able to propose a very Riviera style. Here it's coral again. And you see that Piaget can work ornamental stones because up to now we have more seen as plates. But here you can see cabochon and pearls and beads. So after we will propose to discover different shapes and what is interesting in the presentation we have made is to show that all those shapes, Piaget played with them both for men and for women. So here for instance you have an amazing watch for men with also a kind of op art dial playing with lapis lazuli and malachite. Behind you have a small ribbon cuff for women, also playing with malachite and lapis lazuli, but in white gold and in a very different way, with asymmetry for the dial. And then you have a secret watch for men, which has a square dial too. So it's really interesting how Piaget, in terms of design and also in terms of trust of the family, all what was possible just around one shape. And here we just see the square, but we have many more than that. Here we will see the cushion one.
The famous now.
The famous. This watch was designed to match a specific moment, 1970, where in fact the quartz crisis arrived and that 21 brands gathered together to create what we call the Beta 21. And the watch on the right side were Beta 21, which was very thick. So in terms of design, the idea was to create these steps, to create the illusion like the pyramids. You have the feeling that it's not as thick as it is. And one of them, one of the, I would say, animation of that model has been made instead of 3 steps with 5 steps.
Okay.
The one that Andy Warhol bought. And we were very lucky because, as I told you before, Piaget, because it was made in gold, due to the feeling of and the spirit of the maison, there were not so many quantities. So the Andy Warhol watch that he bought was only made in 26 quantities.
Okay.
So it's very even lucky for us that he bought one, because it's not that many.
Indeed. And the Beta 21 was an interesting project that still today is appreciated. So it's interesting the world as well.
So
His role.
here, this is a very famous Polo.
course.
Yes. So this watch is also a quartz model, but that time is just after. That's why, because it's a 7P. It's the thinnest ultra quartz movement in the world developed by Piaget. And the Polo is also very Piaget because you feel the total integration between the bracelet, the dial, the case. Everything is more like a bracelet with a watch than a watch with a bracelet.
Case is really signature.
It's very Piaget. And this watch was really the first time, it's why it's the last one of this corridor. It's because it's the first time that Piaget answered a request from the market, it was the American market, to say, okay, what you have presented up to now is very dressy. And in the US, the way we live luxury is a bit more outdoor, is a bit more casual chic, is less dressy. So we need a model from Piaget. And then that's why the Polo was built, developed. And Piaget also, because Monsieur Yves Piaget was really founder of horses and that he was attending polo games and polo tournaments, they have decided that this watch will be named Polo, not to play the polo like Jaeger-LeCoultre, but more polo to enjoy being there, always with a lifestyle as we have seen at the beginning. What is interesting also with this watch is that it's the first watch in the Piaget history that has a name. 1969. Before, everything you have been discovering had no name. It was just reference number because, as I told you, with the advertising visual, Piaget was selling a style and not a specific model. With Polo, this is the first time they will develop more iterations of the same design, while from other model it was limited. So this watch with this oval shape is named Gala. It was born in 1973 and is still today a model that is one of the most feminine watch we have in the collection. Dressy, that's why 60 is arriving to be a bit more daily, whereas Gala was a bit more also dressy evening. And
it's Gala night or Gala Dali?
No, it's Gala night.
Ah, okay.
We will see Dali a bit later, but it's a very good point.
I always have thought about that. If it was for Dali or for the occasion.
No, it was for the occasion because, in fact, this watch has been introduced to Gstaad for different galas and also on the French Riviera in Antibes, where you have the Eden Rock. And in fact, it was a kind of gala watch that was always present, and the name was naturally coming for it.
I think Monsieur Piaget's life is something I would like to live.
Yes,
amazing very much.
Here, in fact, it's just interesting to see also a shape that is also very unusual. It's hexagonal, and the design is coming from the honeycomb. And you see that Piaget has been able to be more traditional, very pop with onyx and turquoise, and also very amazing with Eye of the Tiger. What I like here is to show that Piaget can craft color and stone only within the dial, or to go completely over the watch, all around. Here, this is the drop shape, and in this window we can discover a very feminine approach. Here you have a sautoir with a detachable watch, so you can wear it with or without.
Okay.
So that's why the border between jewelry and watch is really amazing. And another cuff, only made with chains. So on one side, you have a chain which is like a piece of fabric.
Yeah, indeed.
And here it's real mesh. So it's really two techniques that Piaget mastered. And if you look closely, you will see that even if those pieces are more than 60 years old, they remain very contemporary, and you can feel the quality of crafting.
Yeah, it's incredible. That's why you're so popular on the market nowadays with the vintage, because it's
Definitively.
the highest quality you can get. Stones, creativity, it's something out of this world. Especially, I've seen this one already. It was, I think, in the Carnet of Watches and Wonders this year or last year. Last year, and it's something you would never see in modern watchmaking. Yet it's more modern than what you see in modern watchmaking.
Yeah, thank you. And here again, it's a cushion with small angles, and the Piaget family has been able just to play around. You see on the left you have a very traditional but very with a strong quality of finishing, yes, with a red tiger eye dial. You have a Guiche Yochet, Clou de Paris, very small, but all around on the bracelet, on the case. Here you have a model which is a bit more psychedelic, very 70s, so the clientele is really different. On the right side you have a cuff with an opal with the same shape. So you see, when we say that Piaget plays of shape, it's real. It's not just marketing wording, it's real.
The gem set with the c'est comme un drapeau, drappeggio on l'appelle in Italian. So really the movement
is around.
The gem set is incredible. This is a watch I've seen already in Paris.
Yeah.
I think
it's one of our, I would say, masterpiece in terms of cuff. It's really a cocktail cuff where you have all the grammar of Piaget. You have asymmetry, you have movement, you have fluidity, you have femininity inside. And in the 60s, 70s, women were not only sitting for dinner, but they also start to move around with cocktails. So when you have a cocktail, you have a glass, so you can see the wrist. So then it was interesting to create things that is happening to be eye-catching. So I think that's why they have been working so much on that design. And on the left, you have another rectangular shape. Very interesting watch, because it tells about the collection design for the 100th anniversary. For the 100th anniversary of Piaget in 1974, every watch from the Maison has a 1-carat diamond set on the bezel, on the watch. So this one is one of that time.
And they all come with the mother of pearl dial?
No, not specifically. They could have variation, but at least they always have 1 carat. This is also interesting. It's about the story of the Piaget rose. It's a true flower that really exists, and the story started thanks this award. Monsieur Piaget was giving that as an award for the breeders. We were competing to create new species of roses that could be more beautiful, and today we still do it. We are still sponsor. At that time it was in Geneva, now it's in Monaco, because the climate change, insects are evolving, so how can we be sure that tomorrow we will still have the beauty and the perfume of roses if we don't do anything? So the Maison is still engaged, and then it tells the story of that flower, which is the queen of our collection in terms of flower.
And this is the
true flower.
Piaget rose, okay.
Yes. And this one is named Yves Piaget rose because the rose really bears the name of Monsieur Piaget. Monsieur Piaget, who is from the 4th generation, which was the last CEO.
Okay.
And today is a chairman of Piaget.
Here we are with
Salvatore Dali. So Dali, it's an amazing collaboration. Today everybody is talking about collaboration, but this one was in 1967, so it's among the very first ones. Salvatore Dali, we know the person and the character and the creativity, was interested to create his own currency, like Louis XIV or Napoleon, so he created the Golden Dali. He did 12 artworks, which are exhibited in his museum in Cadaqués, and he approached the Piaget family to know if Piaget would be interesting to create watch and jewelry with the Dali. So Piaget bought the Golden Dali manufactured by a Swiss manufacturer, because Dali was just designing the coins but not manufacturing them. And Piaget has proposed to Dali several creations. Dali was validating the design, Piaget was manufacturing, and then the royalties was given back to Dali. So that's why Dali supported and was on the advertising campaign to promote the Golden Dali. If you look closely, you will see that on the front you have the face of Dali and the face of Gala.
Okay, yes.
And on the opposite side, you have the royal flower, the lys, and the egg, because for Dali, the egg is a
Always.
mystery of life.
Always.
Something also which is amazing is that every Dali is numbered and dated because it's considered to be a piece of art.
Okay.
And it's made in 24 karat.
Wow.
Because if
Yeah.
you go to the bank, they can really change this for cash. It's real gold. While the chain around is 18 karat. It's
of
very
course.
high.
You can see the difference.
Yes, the alloy, but you can see the difference in terms of color.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember that wasn't like the story that you cannot modify them, right?
Definitely.
You only can set them, but
So-
not touching
Because
them.
it's like if Dali give you a painting,
Yeah.
so you can.
You can change the frame, but not the
yeah.
painting. Yeah, yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. Well, this really, like, since there it begins the real, like, society side with
yeah.
faces.
Yes.
We can say you've been not the first brand, maybe, but the brand that had the most faces before it was a thing.
Yeah, I think it's because Monsieur Piaget felt that in the watch industry, when he was attending events, it was really focusing on the quality of food, but not on the entertainment. And he had the idea to invite some singers, then mixing them with clients, then some artists. And he understood that finally what was really appealing for the clientele, it was to be part of it. So even if you are wealthy, maybe you cannot meet Dali or
Yeah, of
Andy Warhol,
course.
but if you join the Piaget crew, then you will have access.
Of course.
So it was also a golden ticket in one way,
Yeah.
if you understand
Yeah.
the purpose. And Monsieur Piaget was very clever in developing that as a pioneer, finally. Here, in fact, because we are talking about society, we have a very amazing example of that society. And that's why I told you at the beginning, those private collection is tangible assets. Because I could tell you that Piaget has did this for that celebrity or that artist, but how can I prove it?
Here it is.
But here it's true. This is one ingot bought by Andy Warhol, so that we repurchased in 1988 when, well, unfortunately, Andy Warhol
passed
died
away,
in 1987, and in 1988, Sotheby's sold a great part of its collection, so we repurchased this watch. This one is one from Alain Delon, which is a famous French actor, and also it showed that from New York to Paris, Piaget was in vogue.
Wow.
And this was for men, and for women we have three amazing pieces. The two first one belong to Elizabeth Taylor. You know that Elizabeth Taylor had a chalet in Gstaad, so she used to come to Switzerland every winter. And what is amazing for us is that on the first watch is very elegant, not especially extravagant, but if you look about the color of the opal, the color is almost violet.
Yeah.
And you know that Elizabeth Taylor always said that her eyes were not blue, but almost violet. So
Okay.
there is a true connection with that color. Here, in fact, it's a watch that she bought in Gstaad, and Monsieur Yves Piaget sold this model directly to her. And it's amazing because it's our extravagance. You know, on the left side, it's more elegant. Here, it's more extravagant. And the last one is from Jackie Kennedy, so the first lady, the wife of Jackie Kennedy, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. And the one of Jackie Kennedy, in fact, if you look at this watch closely, you have all the element of glamour of Piaget style. What do you have? You have a
Bracelet.
dial with a shape. It's not round, it's oval, in jade, surrounded by diamond, so the diamonds, and finally a bracelet, gold, engraved with the Decor Palace. So, well, those last two windows, they really give the evidence of the Piaget style. And if we turn back, we remember the small 9P. And
Yes.
here, the 9P allows to do those models.
Amazing.
So, you know, from a model which was born in one way to dress a bit more masculine model,
Yeah.
to be very precise, of high quality, allowing thin watches, suddenly you have an explosion of creativity and color. And I'll put them in front to show the difference, you know, not the difference, but, well, the bridge between both.
That's fantastic. Great job. I didn't notice it at the first time, but it's really like kind of like the DNA on two
absolutely.
aspects, but with the same
If Piaget was
basic.
not able to master the ultrascene, if Piaget did not have the chance to feel the color, to be able to use ornamental stone, to master the technique of cutting ornamental stone, to give the freedom to the designer to play of shapes, to play with colors, to propose to men and women amazing creativity, because here you have a, you know, it's
The coin.
a coin, but Warhol was buying an Ingo coin, Ingo, secret, you know, 9p. So it's really interesting to see the connection from something that starts at the beginning, which is a bit more traditional,
Sure.
and then, but many brands have that story. When you start, sometimes at the beginning, you have to find your ways, and then after you have an explosion of style, and here you can feel that the 60s, 70s are really a golden period for Piaget in terms of creativity.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrea, for
Was a
your
pleasure.
listening and for your time and your support.
Thanks to you for welcoming me, and well, see you soon. Huh?
Of course, with pleasure. Goodbye.
Bye. So that was our experience, and I ended my experience with the final viewing of the vintage pieces. I already know quite a few of them, but it's interesting also to take it as the beginning, because everything in Piaget is connected with the history, everything is connected with the craftsmanship and the creativity. So it's very interesting to have it all together, and I think it's a great choice to have in the same place the gold manufacturing, the patrimony, and the actual offices, because it brings really a full experience to who visits and also to who is working there. Let me know your favorite watch of the one we selected. Let me know if you did already know everything that you see today about Piaget, and see you next video.